And yo, what is up? Welcome to a prime time edition of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Chocolate Thunder Jody Williams, and tonight my special guest happens to be a woman, whether it be arm wrestling, whether it be powerlifting, whether it be strong arm. I give you guys Danielle Edmondson. Danielle, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Jody. Thanks so much. That was really generous intro. I appreciate it.
Oh, hey, what's the truth? Because and before we get into the arm wrestling aspect, let's talk about some of the your feats, your strength background. How did that all start?
Well, I'd say ever since I was really young, I always thought strength was really cool. I didn't necessarily participate in lifting myself, but
right.
Our family reunions look like who can do the most push-ups, or just before we even knew what we were doing, arm wrestling, no technique or anything, just having fun, finger strength stuff always kind of been just something I thought was awesome, strength.
Right.
And watching strongman, like World's Strongest Man, always appealed to me, especially the stone lifting. That really, I always thought that was so cool, but I don't know where to find Atlas stones, I didn't really think about it as something for myself, but I grew up in a martial arts background. I did that from like 13 to around 20 years old.
Right.
And then life happened. You start having to pay for your own life. You do school, you go to work, and I just kind of started doing nothing really. Drank, played video games, went to work, and that was life. And one day I just kind of was like, I am not athletic anymore, and I should do something about that.
Right.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to make a change, be a little healthier. And that was in just 2017, so not like terribly long ago. But what I ended up doing was I bought a barbell and a squat rack and a bench that I put in my basement. And through YouTube, I started kind of learning how to squat, bench, and deadlift. And it was just an immediate. As soon as I started doing it, I was in love. And from there, I met another girl who said that her and her boyfriend had Atlas stones in their garage. And she was like, we always try to get people to lift with us, but no one ever will. And I was like, oh my God, I've always wanted to lift on an Atlas stone. That I will be there.
Right.
So I went, and as soon as I picked up the stone, I knew this is for me now. And I found a gym that was just a couple miles from my house that had strongman equipment, and I just never looked back.
I tell you, and not to be a weirdo, but everybody, Instagram is Hellraiser, correct?
That's right. Yeah, it's little play on words like hell and health. So it's Health Razor, HELLTH Razor.
Yes.
At the time, I thought that was funny, but yeah, Health Razor, it's stuck.
Because you are raising some serious hell out there. I'm telling you right now. And when I was following you on Instagram and stuff, and for me, I was like, man, I'm kind of like, man, she is like seriously strong, like pound for pound. Serious, some of the weight you were moving, and you made it look super easy. And I'm like going, okay, what's going on here? I got to see these videos. So, I'm scrolling up and down your Instagram going like, man, she's sitting up here with the stones. She's sitting up here with the deadlift and the power cleans. I'm like going, man, now here's the deal. A lot of us, I know this is an arm wrestling show, and a lot of us go, oh yeah, talk about Danielle's match with Robert Kelly. And before I get into all that, you did go to the Arnold, but you didn't go to compete in arm wrestling. What did you go to the Arnold to compete in?
That's right. Yeah. I went to the Arnold Classic this year for arm lifting, which is a grip competition.
Yes.
So arm lifting is another great sport, and for the arm wrestlers listening, I just got to plug that Arm Lifting USA. It's only $20 to sign up, and I'll tell you what, the arm wrestling is like arm wrestlers, I think, have a huge leg up with arm lifting. Like, you can do both because the grip training does not hurt your arm wrestling. Like, arm wrestling hurts your grip training, but grip training doesn't hurt your arm wrestling.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, because what I tried to do, I've been doing this for 12 years now. So what I tried to do back in the day when I first got into this arm wrestling thing, I tried to say, let's see if I can mix up grips. So I did like the at home anyway. I did the crush to dust. I did the hub
cool.
lift. I did the rolling thunder. I did stuff like that to see. Yeah, if I did that, then maybe that can transition over to arm wrestling. And for it can and it cannot. I know I went to a powerlifting meet one time just a one-time thing, just to say I did it. And some of the people were amazed that like, dude, you're gonna like deadlift with both hands over the bar. I'm like, well, yeah. I thought that was normal, and because I don't use straps. I didn't use none of that stuff. This is what we do, but that was pretty awesome. So what place did you come in?
So I tied for first place, but the way they broke the tie was they went by weight, and I was 4 pounds heavier than the lady I tied with, so I ended up coming second. So I really can't be mad at that. So
we all know you would have smacked her anyway, so it's all right.
Hey-o. But I'll say she's a fellow strong woman as well, and I do feel like that background really does translate into arm wrestling and arm lifting, because there's so much bicep and forearm that's involved in strongman that it really does help carry over, I feel, and everything kind of below the elbow.
Well, I'll tell you what, and let me ask you a question, because I know you're just fresh off the gym, by the way. Everyone, she's like straight out of the gym, boom. How often are you working out? I mean, how many days a week are you working out?
So the way I do it is, life doesn't allow you to do what you want every single day. So what I do is I plan to just work out every day, but it probably ends up being 5 to 6 days a week, because you might have dinner with the folks or go out with friends, or, maybe you get sick, life happens. And so I don't mean to sound like a hero when I say I work out every day, because I might have a heavy deadlift workout one day, and then the day after that is like a light overhead press, and the day after that is grip, and then it's arm wrestling, and then it's log press, so it's really varied. So I'm not like chewing up my whole body every single day. It's very the next day is either about recovering from the one before it or training something completely different. So,
and I get that. I mean, some workouts are very, like, some people will go, hey, maybe Monday I'll focus on pushing exercises, and then Tuesday I'll focus on pulling exercises. That way you give those pushing muscles a break, and then vice versa. You go back and forth, and sometimes, okay, Wednesday we might do some compound movement or whatever the case may be. So, but I know since you're involved in so many different sports, I was just going to ask you that, when do you get a break?
Yeah, it's funny when people are like, wow, that's so amazing that you do that. That must be, but I feel like I don't deserve any credit for doing that, because it's what I like to do, so it almost feels like I get to do my hobby every day, I'm just lucky that what I ended up really enjoying as like something personally is also something that other people might find difficult to maybe motivate themselves to do. So I just kind of feel lucky that my hobby became this, that I kind of found it. And so I actually really look forward to the gym every day. So when I have a day where I can't go to the gym, there's like part of my brain that's like, man, I missed that. It kind of sounds like a sickness, but I
Oh, not at all. Because whether you notice or not, you got a huge fan base. In fact, in the chat right now, we got Joe Cagle says, "What's up, Jody? What's up, Danielle?" The Macho Man, he was at Winter Blast a couple weekends ago. He wants to say, "What's up?" James, I think it's Dean, I pronounce his last name. Danielle is my hero. So you have a big fan base, whether you know this or not.
That's my teammate right there, Milwaukee Mayhem, shout out there.
There you go. You see that? Thanks for joining the show, y'all. So here's the thing, and I was like kind of going, okay, when this whole, and we're going to shift gears for a second, because now we're going to talk about Mr. Robert Kelly. And I'm thinking, okay, and how this whole thing started. I'm like going, I think it was on Arm Wrestling Uncensored or something like that, and it got how that whole thing come apart, because I'm looking like going, are we really going to do this Billie Jean King thing? Like what the hell's going on with that? Can you shed some light to Hershey Nation out here in the chat and tell everybody what's going on with that?
Yeah, so the way that started was I mean, I thought it was pretty funny, because someone posted, it may have been David Kotlow, I don't remember exactly, but they said a good question, and one a lot of people ask, and I don't even know how to answer fully, to be honest, but why don't more women come to arm wrestling tournaments? I was trying to start a discussion about like, how can we, encourage more women to compete?
Right.
And Robert just kind of put a slapstick cheese comment in there saying, because there are no kitchens at arm wrestling tournaments. And that started a comment storm, let's say, and I'm not exaggerating here. There were hundreds of comments that came from that because, it genuinely pissed some people off, understandably. And there were some call outs there like that, so-and-so would arm wrestle you, da-da-da-da. And I don't know how I actually got brought up, but then I was messaged directly by David saying, hey, would you actually arm wrestle Robert? And I was like, hell yeah, I would. Let's go. So then David and I were kind of chatting, how would this actually happen? We don't live in the same state. Like, how can we set this up? And then had this idea where it was like, what would be great is for the loser to make the winner a sandwich, because he brought up the kitchens and women making food and stuff. And I'm always willing, like, I've never arm wrestled Robert. I haven't even seen him arm wrestle at this point. So I don't even know if I can win. I was just game,
Right.
So I fully knew there was a chance I'd be making a sandwich. But I was, once you know how it is, once you accept a challenge, it's 100% confidence or nothing, right? So I'm going in full bore. I'm like, hell yeah, let's make it about a sandwich and do this thing. And that's how it started. And then it was at Winter Blast 98, talking with Ryan, and he was like, yeah, you know what? Let's make the super match happen here. And Robert said he would do it, but he would need a little help with the flight to get there. Mm-hmm. The community stepped up, the GoFundMe filled right up, and here we are.
Yeah, 98 Nation is they're good for that. And when you took the match, and then I kind of went back on to see, the latest post to see if this is going to be real, it's just talk. And, once I heard it was going to be real at Winter Blast, I'm like, oh, shit. All right, Robert Kelly, you got to realize, man, your last super match, you lost to Damon Ransom, and now you're going against Danielle. And I know for a fact she's training. Like, I'm not going to say that he trains just as hard as you do, but I know for a fact. And I've met Robert. He's a cool guy. And then I just didn't know he would say that comment. I don't know if that was a joke or that's his way of getting his, 15 minutes of fame or whatever, whatever it was. But I'm like going, good Lord. I'm thinking, okay. So because my buddy, Aaron Yearsley had a match, there. And I was, helping him get ready for his match with David Hobbs. So I was in my garage, training, I got my TV up, I'm watching a live feed up thinking, all right. To the point where my wife was like, okay, did the match happen yet? Where's Danielle? Did she have it? And my wife was wanting to watch that match. And I'm like going, oh, babe, you missed it. It was like boom, boom, boom. Thanks for coming. Get home safe. It was that kind of match, right? And I'm like going, wow. And I'm like, I think it was either match 2 or match 3. And you had him in the hook and you look at the crowd with a grin. I was like, oh, shit. Tell me what was going through your mind then?
So usually that was fun for me because, typically if there's a tournament or a super match with somebody, I like to be respectful of my opponent, I don't like to play those kind of games. I'll whoever was best on that day is best on that day, and that's the way it is. Shake hands, great. But with this one, because of the nature of the match, right, I felt like it was that perfect time to show the bravado. So when I knew I had him, and man, if I can get in an arm wrestling match, if I can get into my hook, I pretty much know it's done. And so once I set the arm there, I was like, oh, I'm in my happy place. I looked at the crowd and they responded. Like, that crowd at Winter Blast was off the charts. And it was just like, that was a rush. So I looked at them, they cheered back, and bam, right to the pad. So felt pretty good.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jamie Sheldon's in the chat. Welcome to Hershey Nation, Jamie. Mr. Natfit himself. Jamie says he's impressed with your lifts and you're pulling so much. So much respect from the man over there.
Thanks, Jamie. That's a strong dude.
And, so you got the momentum because already, you got all the the subs. You know, you got your YouTube, you got your Instagram, all your lifts are there. So you got more sudden.
This community's been incredible.
Hey, we're like a sorority / fraternity of this community, you know. So it's I love that. Then all of a sudden, you know, I blink, and all of a sudden, oh, so now you have a match at the Monster Factor on the pay-per-view, and you got Le'Aaron Wilson, who, by the way, will be a guest on this show next Friday, but we'll get into that later. But you had a match with Le'Aaron. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a good match because this is your typical power versus speed match. And tell me what was going on when you agreed to do this match.
Well, about maybe like I think it was about 2 months before that match. So that match was last week, and about 2 months before that was Illinois State.
Right.
And I was able on that day to get the win in that tournament on her in Illinois. Now it was still a quite a fight. And then a year before that, we had faced in a tournament, and she absolutely kicked my ass. So we've had some pretty damn good back and forth on the table. So she called me a couple weeks after that and was like, "Hey, I got this call from Michael and Rebecca. Would you be up for a right and left super match?" And it was like, I mean, how can you turn that down, right? I was
exactly right.
And I knew, I was like, you know, if and I know Le'Aaron's dangerous. I know, even though, yes, the last time we faced, I was able to pin you that day. I know someone like Le'Aaron, if she's going to ask me, she's got a strategy, you know? So I'm like, all right, like, don't sleep on Le'Aaron Wilson. She's skilled, but I was like, all right, sounds good. Let's do this. And now my March, this has been this kind of a really unusual March, because the very first weekend was the Arnold's, and then even though that was for grip, you know, did some arm wrestling because the arm wrestlers, of course, are there, and I got to go see my people there. And then the weekend after that was Philadelphia Winter Blast, and then the weekend after that was the Monster Factory event. And I'd say I did learn a lesson, because I'm about 2 years into arm wrestling, so that's not a whole lot of history when it comes to growth on the table, you know. But I did learn this, that in order to really be your best, you probably need more than 1 week of rest.
Right. No, I mean, you should know.
No excuses. It was all, every decision that was made was all me. But I'll say, I think my left felt really asleep last weekend. So that was the one thing I was kicking myself for. We had a really good match, right? And we pulled a lot left, and I know, and Le'Aaron told me herself, she was like, "Man, your left just did not feel like it should have." And I was like, nope, it was definitely learn some lessons there. But
well, speaking of which, Rebecca Todd is in the chat. Rebecca, welcome to Hershey Nation, by the way. She loves Rebecca, the ladies, you know.
Howdy.
And
so, Rebecca, if you hear this, I have one of those Bud Lights in my hands that you so graciously donated to me.
There you go. Didn't you pull Le'Aaron like at last year's ladies only event in Texas?
That's right. And she actually swept that tournament. That was my first time meeting her. That was a really cool experience. That whole event was fantastic. Yeah, that was in March 2021, yes. I believe. February, March. Yeah. She pulled 3 women's classes and won all of them. I came second to her, I think, in my weight class. I think it was something like that. But yeah, that was my first time meeting her, and so that really, you know, when you pull with people that are, because at that time, you know, after a level like right where you can kind of feel that you're close, but they're definitely above you. I find that so motivating. Right. And so for 8 months later to then face her again and actually be able to hang, that was a really cool feeling. So
what, I mean, with all the strength in your background, and you only been in arm wrestling for how long? Couple years, 3 years?
2 years. It was March 2020. It was actually the Arnold's 2020 that I discovered. No, I'm sorry. What year is it? Yeah, it was 2020. That was it. The Arnold's 2020. That was the zombie classic right before everything shut down.
Oh yeah.
That I discovered arm wrestling.
So what made you actually cross over? Because, it's good to see athletes in different sports, cross over in our sport, because they always bring something that a lot of people don't really have naturally. Like you get the guys like a Brandon Allen, you get guys, those big, strong Larry Wills, anybody from a different sport like yourself, and you come over to arm wrestling, you kind of go, oh, okay. Already you got the strength background. Now all you got to do is learn the technique and put everything together, and now we have one dangerous person. So what made you cross over and give this arm wrestling thing a try?
So I didn't realize how accessible arm wrestling was until, like I said, I guess to kind of take it from the top, I suppose, Rogue was doing an event called Rogue Record Breakers.
Yes.
And they had an anvil, which was a grip lift, and it was an online submission. I was like, well, grip is my thing. I'm totally going to try to qualify for this, and I did. So I got invited to participate in that event, 2020 at the Arnold Classic. And I was a fan of arm wrestling from the couch. So I would, I watched WAL and I was kind of getting up on my history then, because I was sort of discovering arm wrestling as something entertaining to watch and becoming a fan.
Right.
So I followed Devin Larratt because he's the most social media present, arm wrestler, especially a couple years ago.
Right.
So since I was in Ohio, I saw one of his stories saying arm wrestling was canceled. So we're going to set up all the arm wrestling tables at this bar. And I was like, wow, that bar is right across from the venue. Very cool. So I thought, well, you know what? As a fan, I'll just show up to that bar, just have a beer, get the fan photo, leave, and that'll be cool.
Right.
So it's after my event. I go over there. Sure enough, all the arm wrestlers are there, and Devin's doing his thing where he's at a table and people are just lining up to pull with him. The way we've seen him do 100 times. And I was like, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to get in that line. Screw it,
Yeah.
and so I did. And he was very gracious and patient, and was helping me learn a bit what I was doing. And then he said, wow, he's like, I think you could be good at this. You should really get into it. And since I had such a good time, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, probably being nice, but I did really, really enjoy it. So he plugged me in with Veronica Knight. She's an arm wrestler out of California.
Oh, yeah.
And then Veronica contacted some Wisconsin arm wrestlers. And then I got involved with Wisconsin. I found a team. Actually, it was my boyfriend, Tim, who ended up finding the team. So once I told him the story, he got fired up about it. He comes from the same small town in Wisconsin that Ron Bath was actually from. So he was already very aware of arm wrestling even more than I knew.
Right.
And from there, it just took off, and it really complemented everything I was already doing. I did not expect for arm wrestling to actually improve my strongman and grip training so much, because I didn't realize all the lifting I'm doing, none of it was training my wrist. Right. It was crazy to me to feel so weak against people that I could outlift. I was like, how is this possible? It felt like magic. Like, who are these wizards that are making me feel like I don't even lift on the table? And it was so cool to learn, like, oh my gosh, train your wrist so you can actually access your power. And it benefited everything.
There you go. And I really wanted, just one question I always want to ask if I ever got a chance to, talk to you. And here it is. Because you're so involved with all these events coming up, do you think does one get in the way of the other, or is it to a point where, let's just say, hey, Danielle, we want to have you to come out to this tournament, and you got to go, let me check my schedule. Oh, I have a strong man person here, or I have a competition there. I might just say no. How many times have you turned down events because of another event?
So many times. I am absolutely caught in that. I want to do so many things, and then I do. Like I'm already not the most organized person. So I'll be like, hey, come to this event. I'll see this. I'm like, that looks amazing. Let's check it out. And sure enough, I was like, oh, shoot, I have a strongman event the next weekend. Or so you're absolutely right. I do have to be pretty pick and choosy about which events mean the most to me, because I have to balance it with not only training, but also just other events. Because every event you do, kind of beats the piss out of you a little bit, because when you actually do a competition, that's when you actually redline, unlike in a practice. So I'd say I could do like a strongman event, and then the next weekend do an arm wrestling event. But when it comes to strongman, I have to be more careful about arm wrestling preceding that, because the elbow pain will kind of stop my performance a little bit. Say if I got like a heavy pressing event to do,
right?
Well, then I want to make sure I wasn't in a tournament really recently and that sort of thing. So you're absolutely right. I do. It is tough. I have to turn down a lot of things that, but my viewpoint on it is, I feel like competitive strongman for me has a much narrower window than arm wrestling.
Right.
I see how so many people are in arm wrestling for 10, 20, 30 years and just keep getting better. And that's so cool. Whereas with strongman, I think there'll be a point where, not that I'll stop doing it, but I might stop trying to go for the gold in it, say, but arm wrestling, I'm like, there'll be a time in my life, I'm quite sure that I will just be a competitive arm wrestler, and that'll honestly be fun to not have things competing with each other.
Right. So, all right. Yeah. Once again, everybody, I'm here on the show with the strong one herself, Danielle Edmondson, and well, we got 14 people in the chat. We got 12 likes. Let's get those likes up. But
Hi-yo.
As an athlete, and you and I know, when you get ready for it, and everybody in the chat, at Hersey Nation, they know, when you get ready for an event, there's always that rest period. Okay.
Yes.
So, when you rest up for a tournament, let's just say, since you had this match with Leanne, right? And how long was your rest period from your last training for that match, as opposed to your last workout on your way to the Arnold's? Is there anything different? Is it about the same? Break that down for us.
So I rested a little bit longer for the Arnold's. I actually took a whole week off, which is a little strange for me. For the Leanne match, it was a little different, because since I did have some tournament fatigue built up, I wanted to spend some more time doing that real lightweight recovery work. So I'd say typically I would, whatever, for arm wrestling, I'd take a week off of arms, but I might do squats or deadlift up to about if the tournament's on Saturday, Wednesday might be my last squat workout, give the arms, but I do want at least a couple day buffer of doing nothing heavy, just so the whole body feels fresh, so like there's no CNS fatigue going on. There's nothing hurting. You just feel kind of fired up and ready to go. So typically in my mind, that rest period is about a week.
Okay. And like I said, because everyone is different, as far as some people take a week off before a tournament, others will take 2 weeks off. Some people are all just table time, based. Some are just like, I train on a table once a month or once a week, and all my other stuff is done in the gym. So it all depends on the individual, In the chat, Joe Cagle wants to know, did you ever get a chance to lock up with Michelle Dugan at Winter Blast?
I sure did. Now, her right bicep is still recovering from an injury, so we did not pull right. But holy crap, is she strong? So let's just say I'm not on a Michelle Dugan level yet, but I sure hope to be. But maybe a year or three. We'll see. But she was the absolute dominant force left. She did not pull right. We stayed off that arm. But it was really cool to meet her, and she was really friendly. We had very gracious on the table as well. So I enjoyed pulling with her and meeting her quite a bit. She seemed like a cool person, so it's always nice when you do meet someone and it turns out they are a cool person. So
nice. Yeah. My main man Mazel Jajor is in the house. Mazel, what's up? And just like he said, hit the like button. You're familiar with the WAL, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. If by chance they come back, because I know some people, you know, I was personally in front of everybody say, look, you need to get her on one of the cards. Because I'm telling you, right, you need to be on the card, because I'm telling you, what you bring is the energy, the strength, and you got the charisma. And that's what WO is looking for. And I'm telling you right now, and I tell you, if anybody in this chat believes me, give me a thumbs up. I think Danielle, at some point, if WL came back, needs to be on one of those cards, because I'm telling you, because think about that for a second. You know, who would you like to match up with? I mean, if there was a dream match for Danielle, who would that match be?
You know, if we're thinking WAL, I don't know if I'd hold a candle or not, but I'd love to find out. Fia Reshek, Victoria Carlson. I don't know that I would be ready today, but I would love to get at a point where I could hold my own to Angie Rhodes.
Right.
So I'd say, but let's just say WL comes knocking, I'm opening the door.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Very exciting.
No doubt, because like I said, when you look at it and it's like, okay, she has that power. So if you're not careful, like I said, as soon as you set your hook and you got in your power, it was like, oh, okay, I got this now. Your whole body language, your facial, expression all changed, So
because as arm wrestlers know, and that's my biggest weakness with just being 2 years into arm wrestling, is just the time it takes to develop the wrist. Because the more I develop the wrist, the more of the power that I've developed through lifting can actually be accessed. So every time my wrist gets stronger, I get so much better on the table. So that's really where in the gym, my primary arm wrestling training is really focused in getting a rise cup and roll, So
right. Two things.
You notice I don't top roll too much.
No, you don't. And
that is something I'm definitely working on. So that the top roll, it's coming. It's installing.
Oh, right now your top roll is under construction, right?
It's under construction.
So Mr. David Morrow wants to know, did you ever get your sandwich made? And what kind of sandwich was it, by the way?
So.
Oh, God.
Here's the controversy.
Just the fact that you even said that to start when you answer a question by so, I already know, like, okay.
So here's the real bullshit. I don't know if can I swear here? I don't want to get a demonetization, but
oh, no. Hey, just so you know, I'm in control of this show. This is rated R, so by all means, say what you got to say.
Right, so the real bullshit here is that I offered before the match, before the tournament started. I was like, hey, I'll stop at the store and even go get all the sandwich ingredients. And he's like, no, don't get it ahead of time. We'll get the ingredients fresh. So at that point, I was like, hey, I put myself out there to go ahead and take care of it.
Wow.
And then since I won, I felt like the onus was then on him to make good. And it never happened. So
what kind of bullshit is that? You can't sit there and crack on somebody about, hey, the loser has to make a sandwich, agree to it, and then you don't. If anything, I would have said, if I was Mr. Robert Kell, I would have said, hey, I'm sorry. How about I buy you lunch or something like that? At least something.
Yeah.
It was
and you know what? I would have recorded it, posted it, and been like, everything's good.
Wow. That is so. You know what? I'm losing more respect for that guy. But I'll say this though.
That was was the only thing that ended up being like the only tick about the whole thing. I was like, it would have really wrapped the whole thing up with a bow and put it completely to bed, just to have it all bone sandwich match. And I'll say especially because some people actually gave their money, for
that's what I'm saying. You have people from 98% all chip in for your airfare. You can't even come up and with your end of the bargain. That's what I don't understand,
Right. And
wow.
The way I see it too, like when you make a bet, like it might suck, man, but you gotta own your bets.
Yes. Or you're gonna get a bad rep, Wow.
Yep.
A couple of things in the chat. So there's two names that people brought up in the chat. Rebecca Todd says she would love to see you versus Tamara Mintz out of Canada, right? And then David Mars said he would love to see you in a match versus Nancy Locke. Tell me your hey, what do you think about those two?
So any of those I would absolutely love. So Nancy I adore. The only thing is, and this would have to be okay with Nancy, is that I think I outweigh her by quite a bit. And I'm not that is in no way a knock on Nancy. She's the fiercest. She's actually helped me personally through messaging, but I think I outweigh her by around 40 or 50 pounds. So but let's just, when it comes to super matches, it's all about, hey, if two people agree, then that it's fair. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
But in tournament style, I'd probably never be in her weight class. Would I say no to that match? Absolutely not. I would be honored to pull with Nancy. Tamara Mintz, abso-freaking-lutely. That would be so exciting. She seems like a really cool person and someone that I really hope I get to meet. I know the last couple of years have been, a lot going on in her life, but yeah. I would absolutely love to pull with her and just meet her, learn from her. Be very cool.
Yeah, and you know what? Anytime, with the guys, like with Paul Lynn, his last couple of matches was Ron Bath and John Brzezinski. Just like you, anytime you get a legend in our sport, such as Tamara Mintz and Nancy Locke, and I'm gonna put Michelle Dugan in that conversation too. When you get an opportunity to pull someone like that, that's the stuff you can't say no to that, But no. If I'm sitting up here and said, hey, if someone were to ask me, hey, who do you think Danielle has a rival? I would say, after what we just saw in the history as you first got into it, I would say probably Lee Aaron. I would love to see y'all run that back, fresh for fresh.
Oh, I agree. It's even better that we actually like each other as friends, because after meeting each other, we found out we kind of got along, and so having that both conflict of when we're at the table, it's absolutely fuck you, and then right afterwards, it's like, okay, let's talk about it and have a drink.
Yeah.
It's extra great. And now that we've gone where she's got me a 2-1. I mean, if I get a chance to even that out again, I'm going to do it. And like you said, when it comes to call outs from anyone that has any sort of name for themselves, mm-hmm. I am not ashamed to lose. The only thing I'm ashamed of is not doing my best. So whatever happens in a match, I'm going to go in with full confidence and to do my absolute best. And whatever happens at that point, it's respect for whoever I'm against, no matter what, win or lose. Like I'm just, happy to be there. So
Danielle, I have to say, God bless you on that comment, because that's exactly how I feel. I think sometimes, we as arm wrestlers, because it is a one-on-one sport, it's not a team sport. Now you have clubs and teammates but at the end of the day, when your name is called up there, it's just you and your opponent. So yeah, it can be a one-on-one thing. And I think sometimes it's a very humbling sport. So, yeah, I mean, I like what you said, because I go by the same thing. Like, hey, I ain't afraid to lose. That's one less thing I got to deal. I don't have to deal with, you right? If I lose, hey, I lost. I'm having fun. But so many people that I know put so much extra pressure on themselves that's not necessary. I think sometimes that can be the difference between a win or a loss, in my opinion. I'm just, because I know in our sport, you're going against a competitor, whereas with you and your background with like strongman or powerlifter, you're going against the weight. It's a little different mind frame. Yes or no?
Absolutely. Because like yes, you are trying to, in strongman, win against other people, but you're doing that by just lifting the weight either faster for more reps or heavier. So it's still you against the weight, just more than other people. You know, the lift is going to be the lift, just like it is in your training. Where when you're with a person, I mean, you have no idea what's going on in their heads, how they're going to set up, what their strategy is. Is it going to directly counter yours? Or you have no idea. So I absolutely agree when it comes to arm wrestling, like the competitive mindset of it. There are some things that are the same, but when it comes to the actual execution, that's different.
Yeah, and that's one thing we all have to deal with. I don't want to talk about this, but I have to bring it up. Have you ever, knock on wood, ever had any kind of injuries before? And if you did, what were those and how did you get through them?
So I've been really lucky. As far as arm wrestling goes, I haven't had anything other than, I went a little too hard in side pressure, or, I caught someone's nasty hit, and so I got some of that inflammation. I went over here too. Any traumatic injury come out of arm wrestling. Right. And even in strongman, I've been very lucky, but the worst thing that ever happened to me was I learned a real hard lesson about ego lifting with deadlift. Now, I'm going to just qualifier. I think deadlift is actually a really good lift for your back. Some people say, don't deadlift, it's bad for your back. I completely and respectfully disagree with that. But no matter what the lift is, if you lift more than your body's prepared for, that's not good.
I used to lift a lot. I mean, not that my numbers are anything to talk about, but I did deadlift 435 one time. Yeah, I mean, compared to some other people, 435 is like chump change, fine, whatever. But I realized as I get older that I can't do the amount of weight that I used to do when I was younger. So this is where, like you said, that ego lift, I got to go, okay, dial it back, sir. You're 46 years old. You can't be doing the same thing like you did against these 26-year-olds. You got to kind of, what your body is able to allow and kind of go from there. And sometimes I have a lot of trouble doing that. It's like, okay, because I recently, if you go on my YouTube, everybody, by the way, you'll see I did a one-arm deadlift of 235. So that's what one arm.
You got a lot of lifting on your YouTube channel. That's a great one-arm lift too, and people got to understand too, like that's not a hook grip lift. No, like that's
that's straight hand and fingers, and I'm trying to lift the whole thing up. So what people don't know is that it's like, all right, maybe a month later, I said, all right, I'm going for a PR, right? And I'm thinking, all right, cool, I'm going for 240. And people don't realize if you just look at the number of 5 pounds, 5 pounds are nothing. But when you're lifting something as a PR and you have 5 pounds, it feels like the whole weight of the world's on your shoulders. So I tried 100%. That. It didn't work out. I felt something pop in my back, and now I'm like on the ground like shit, and that kind of took me out for like 3 or 4 days to get back to normal, So I realized that, okay, I can't be doing this anymore. I can't, do all the heavy weight. I like to do it, but now I got to be more smart, and I'm kind of morphing over the bands, but now I'm starting to get back into the weight thing, not so much with the lower back, but just, the bench pressing now, the overhead tricep press and all the other stuff. I'm kind of getting back into that now, because now it's like, okay, I feel good. Once you do that kind of stuff, you start feeling better. So you do the same thing. You understand.
I'll say, though, the one thing I would classify as an injury that I have had happen to me, it was ego deadlifting. Yeah. And I felt that same thing. I was doing a deadlift. There was a pop in my back. And for, for like a week, I could barely walk. But here's the really interesting thing. And like that injury actually followed me for quite a few months. But here's what got me out of it, which I thought was really interesting, because it's just like the way you recover from arm wrestling. So, you have a tournament, and say you're really sore. Yeah. What do? You do your super light, high reps of 50 to 100 reps of your rise, your pronation, your supination, your cup. and you just fill the arm up with blood, but really light. So you're not damaging the tissue, you're just filling it up with blood.
Right.
And what I ended up doing to finally fix my back, because deadlift is my absolute favorite lift. I love deadlifting. And I was like, how do I become friends with deadlifting again? And what I did, and this is going to sound crazy, but it worked, and it's the same principle with arm wrestling, is I started deadlifting every single day, but I would do it really lightly. So I just took that hair of the dog and just did tons of reps, really lightweight. Like, I'm started with 135 pounds. So that's just, one plate each side, and just doing like, say, 10 sets of 10, super light.
Right.
And then the next week, add 5 pounds to that. And for months, I rehabbed my back by just adding 5 pounds a week until I was back at the weight that hurt me, which back then was 315. And after that, my back was so strong. Again, knock on wood. My like I said, my current deadlift is 445, and I have no no worry about my back when I go to do it. Right? It's all just, am I strong enough?
Oh, trust me, we all know you're strong, because in the chat, Carlos said, "Hey y'all, Danielle can pull up 445 off the floor, and she weighs about 175." So that right there, that's intimidating.
That was Carlos.
Yeah.
I think I know who you mean. He's in my Instagram comments a lot. I really appreciate it. That dude's really encouraging.
But think about that for a second. 75, yes, your walk around weight. But yeah, you're taking out 445. I've never did 445. So that right there is super. But like I said, my number ain't nothing anyway. But for someone to lift up,
you also know, if there's something that you're focusing on and doing every single week, that helps too. So
yeah, I'm just happy that I was able to get 235 deadlift with one arm. Because with that, what makes it challenging is that you got to find that sweet spot, because either that weight bar is going one way or the other, and you're lifting that much of it. So you got to really try to find that happy medium and balance that as you go up.
Yes.
That kind of thing. And
right.
And
inevitably, because we're human, you can never really get it perfectly centered, and that's also where you're gonna have to have either really strong rise or supination in order to just counter whichever side it's on. And so those one-arm deadlifts are really impressive, just because it is impossible to be perfectly in center unless you've got a machine leveling your hand for you, so those one-arm deadlifts are pretty damn impressive.
Well, I appreciate that, but the thing is, though, is that doing that, it took a lot out of me. I was like, dude, I had to use every single inch of my muscles in my entire, because the deadlift, you're using everything in your body, whether you know it or not. Everything's involved. And so when I did that, I was like going, I'm glad I got it, but at the same time I was like, dude, that wore me out. Just that one lift wore my whole body out. I'm like, man,
from the top of your traps to the bottom of your heels, you're gonna feel a deadlift. All of that is working. And especially with the one-arm deadlifts, I feel especially in my rhomboids, those muscles right between your shoulder blades, because wow, those are working so hard to try to stabilize your shoulder blade, because you're using one arm and you got no stabilization because you can't grab it with two and hold it against your body. So yeah, they're a different animal.
Yeah, so anybody out there, I don't make stuff up. So by all means, once this show is done, feel free to go on my channel. I did one lift at 225 one arm, and then one at 235, and then 240 was an epic fail, so I didn't make it on there. But I do all these other weird lifts too, so just check it out. But yeah, tell me what else you got there.
Your elbows are a little pointy, so I think that's kind of suspect, don't you?
Yeah, you know what? I need to get that looked at. But these bad boys right here, good boy. You see, the bone right here is just, you know what? They might. I should probably not do that. They might shut my channel down, because you never know, man.
So funny.
You know what? I thought about because that whole thing started, and I don't know if that troll was a joke or whatever thing, but it got to a point where everybody kind of jumped on this case. Even my wife got involved. Was like, wait, I've lifted this guy for 20 plus years. He's never done anything like that. And I'm like, oh, I think it's a joke now. I almost thought about getting a T-shirt that says,
it's totally. I love it. Like I think it's almost like become a niche meme now of pointy elbows. I think it's hilarious because I don't know if it was a troll either. Because if it's a troll, like who even comes up with that? I've never heard that in my life. That's hilarious.
But then the funny part is that guy sat there and had another post like later on, a picture of him. I train. I'm like going, you have a gut and you're staring in a refrigerator. Like, what the fuck? But I'm thinking, that's what he wants. He wants all the attention. So I'm thinking, well, hell, I'll just turn this thing into a funny thing. And then hopefully I'll get a T-shirt that says, make elbows great again, whatever, or something like that. I'd be kind of funny. So
I've been accused of using PEDs myself, and I haven't, but I find it to be just a wonderful compliment. Like it's like really like you think I couldn't have done this on like naturally? Oh, thank you. That is so kind.
I tell you what, Danielle, here's my opinion about that kind of stuff. Do I throw shade on people who do that? No. I mean, I'm more respectful of the people who actually say, yeah, I do it, didn't lie about it. But I will say this, though. If I'm on an arm wrestling table, because I'm not bringing up any names because that's not what I'm doing right now. Because I didn't find out till after the fact that, yeah, I've had matches before and I've actually beat people who are on PEDs, but I didn't know about that till after the fact. For me, it's just like my slogan is such, and everybody in the chat who knows me knows I live by this. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I live that. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I love that. That is so true. I love that so much. Yes.
That's how I roll. So there you go, people. That's one thing I live by. Hey, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I'd
like to be clear too. I do not judge about what people do to their bodies. The only time I feel like it's if it's dishonest, that's one thing. But if your sport allows it, whatever. I come from strongman, so it's regular in my sport. I do not judge for what people what's you do to your body. You go for it. I think with arm wrestling, it's actually. Now, I might be showing my ignorance here, but I feel like it's actually the least helpful in arm wrestling because you have to have so much built up in your frame in order to support the added strength. So I could see a PEDs really helping, say, your bench press and your deadlift. But when it comes to you're only as strong as what your frame and your wrist can support. So if you haven't put in the years of work for your tendons and ligaments to be strong, your added muscle is really going to be more of a risk to you. Now, I could see if you've been arm wrestling 5-10 years plus, that could accelerate you. I could certainly see that because now you have a frame and you can add to that frame some more horsepower. Sure. But I think in arm wrestling, if you're good at arm wrestling, whether you're an enhanced athlete or not, in order to be elite, you have to have put in the work no matter what.
Right. But I tell you what gets me strong? This big old bag of fucking gummy bears I'm sitting right here. Yeah.
Oh, amen.
This is what gets me strong. You see these Haribo gummy bears? Yeah.
Yep.
That's what gets me strong. There you go. So there's my secret. I done told the whole world now. That's what gets my elbows fucking in place. Those gummy bears right there. There you go. Well, Danielle,
are one of my favorite things to bring to tournaments.
Yeah, see that, and it's good. Hopefully one of these days, Robert say, "Look, I'm sorry. Here's a gift card to Chipotle, whatever the fuck, because he does really need to kind of get back on that. Like, dude, don't be a yahoo. All right. So anyway, I know enough about him. But is there anything else you want to say to the show before we cut you loose? Because I know it's about past dinner time for you. It's dinner time for me. Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I just like to say thanks to you, Jody. I gotta say, I as soon as you asked if I was interested, it was a no-brainer to me because I feel like not only are you a good arm wrestler? But I feel like you're a really, really positive energy, both just probably, I'm assuming in your life, but definitely in the sport. I everywhere I see you comment, it just looks, it's positive. It's support. And I think that's my kind of human. So I appreciate you. It's been good to actually speak to you. Yeah, so thank you.
Well, thank you for joining me on the show. It's been awesome. And everybody in the chat agreed. Oh, you were just awesome on here. I will say this though, I was afraid to have you come on because I thought you'd be so busy, with working out, or you were on another talk show not too long ago. I'm thinking, man, is she gonna even have time to hang out with the Thunder? I don't know. We'll find out. But when you say, yeah, we can do this, I said, hey, you pick a day, pick a time, and I'll work around it. And it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed your company. And you know what? We'll have to do it again someday.
Sounds good, man. Thank you, Jody.
All right. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk soon.
You bet.
Take care. Bye.
Peace.
Bye. So that was Danielle. I'm telling you right now, one of the most, as I said, just kick the show off, one of the most athletic ladies that I know. And I'm telling you right now, she can. All I got to do is say this. Anybody who weighs 175 pounds but can deadlift 445 off the ground, I ain't got to say nothing. I'm going to just be like, you know what? I tip my hat to you, and I'm bowing to you. That is some serious pound for pound strength. And I'm telling you right now, you need to go check her up. She's on Instagram. She puts stuff on Facebook. Check her out. But again, it's a Friday night. I know you guys are getting, bored hanging out with me, but I'm going to go get a bite to eat. You guys enjoy your weekend, because next Friday, guess who I got? I got Le'Aaron Wilson. Yes, I do. Next Friday, primetime edition, ArmTalk, Le'Aaron and I will talk shop. So everybody out there, thank you so much for the love. We had 18 likes. We had 12 people in and out in the chat. I love it to death. I love you all too. As always, see ya when I see ya. You guys enjoy your weekend.